record. Okay. Okay, fine. So I think some portion of the recording would be missing. So I'll just wrap it up in one line. Okay. So we were actually discussing Lord Parshuram's lineage, wherein so King Gadi had a daughter called Satyavati, and then Richika Muni actually asked King Gadi to marry Satyavati, right? And then Satyavati, so the king felt that so the Brahmana is unfit, and then he belongs to an aristocratic family, so he asked a dowry. So wherein the dowry was that he should give in 1,000 horses with 1 ear. The color of 1 ear should be black. Okay, either left or right. So and then the Ruchika Muni went to Lord Varuna, and then he got those 1,000 horses, and then he gave whatever was demanded by Gadi, and then he married his daughter Satyavati. So thereafter, right? So they were living. Ruchika Muni was a powerful Muni. Okay, so in those days, and then both his wife Satyavati and his mother-in-law, right? So both were desiring to have a son. Okay, and so they in the Vedic times they used to have all rituals, right? So in that way, right? So before doing anything, right? So they had so Ruchika Muni actually created two oblations. Okay, so one for his wife and one for his mother-in-law, right? Because his mother-in-law belongs to the Kshatriya family, right? So he created a suitable ovulation for Kshatriyas and then a suitable ovulation for his wife Satyavati, a Brahmanical ones. Okay. So, and then what happens is Ruchika Muni goes for a bath. Okay, so after this, he gives them the ovulations and then he goes for a bath. And by the time he comes back, right? So the mother-in-law, right? So mother-in-law feels that the oblation which is being prepared for his daughter. So it's nothing but Ruchika Muni's wife, right? For Satyavati, she felt that it might be more powerful, or so because it's between husband and wife, right? So he might have prepared that oblations with something extra, additional compared to mine. Okay. So then what she does is she swaps it. Okay. He eats the oblation. So they swap it, and what happens is Rishika Muni comes in the meanwhile, and then he gets to know that whatever Satyavati had to eat, right, the ovulation was taken by the queen, and then whatever was being prepared for his mother-in-law, right, so that was taken by his wife. So then Ruchika Muni said that you have done a great mistake to Satyavati. And then he says that these oblations, as you have taken these oblations, right? So your son will become a Kshatriya, powerful Kshatriya. So he says that Satyavati's son, so in the sense Ruchika Muni's son would become a Kshatriya, and then his mother-in-law's son would become a Brahmana. Okay. So then looking at the anger and all that, Satyavati actually pacified her husband, and then after that, right? See, he gives an he actually says that I can only do one thing, so wherein instead of your son, right, your grandson will become an Kshatriya. Okay, but the other side it will be the same. Okay, so these things happen, and then so what happens is Satyavati actually gave birth to Jamadagni. Okay, so Satyavati's son was Jamadagni, and then Jamadagni married Renuka. Okay, she was the daughter of Renu. And then say they had sons. Okay, so they had 4 or 5 sons, and then among them, right, the latest one was the youngest one was Parashuram. Okay, so who has this Kshatriya trait? Okay, so as per the oblations, right, he has the Kshatriya capabilities. Yeah? And then the other side, say Vishwamitra was born. Okay, so anyhow, so you just have this information. So Vishwamitra is something which may take up some time later, but not in this session. Yeah. So he was a great Brahmana. Okay. So next, what happens is now this scene comes in. So in this way, the lineage starts. Okay. So we'll just. So this is from our Ashtakam. Yeah, so Dasa Ashtakam, right? So this goes in this way. Kshatriya Rudhiramaye Jagat Apagata Papam Snapyasi Payasi Samita Bhavatapam Keshavadrita Bhugapati Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Okay, so in this, right, so the incarnation of Parashuram has been said. O Keshava, O Lord of universe, O Lord Hari, you have assumed the form of Bhrugupati, Parashuram. Okay. All glories to you. At Kurukshetra, you bathe the earth in the rivers of blood from the bodies of the demonic Kshatriyas that you have slain. The sins of the world are washed away by you, and because of you, people are relieved from the blazing fire of material existence. Okay. So this is all about the Lord. So this is the whole lineage. So if you want to go from the start, right? So all this is the lineage. So I started from here, yeah, Gadi. Okay, so Gadi belonged to the Kusha dynasty, and then here, so Ruchika Muni, here Jagadan, so Jamadagni, son of Renu, and then Lord Parashuram was born. So here, right? So the learned scholars accept this Parashuram as the celebrated incarnation of Vasudeva. Okay. So this is again from Srimad Bhagavatam, yeah, Canto 9, chapters 15 and 16. Okay. Has this avatar of Parashuram's details, yeah, who annihilated the dynasty of Kartavirya Arjuna. Okay. Parashuram killed all the Kshatriyas on earth 21 times. Okay. So now we'll uh, understand who is this Kartavirya. Okay. So Kartavirya Arjuna, okay, his name. And then he is the king of Hayas. Okay. Hayayas. Sorry. And then he actually received a boon. So he worshipped Lord Dattatreya. Okay. With that, right, he got a boon of 1,000 hands. Okay, as Ravana had 10 hands, right? So he had 1,000 arms. Okay, and then he was very powerful. Okay, so and so right? Once we get power, then the next thing is we'll get puffed up. So he was very powerful, right? And then once he was actually bathing in the river, right? So surrounded by some beautiful women, and then he actually stopped the flow of Narmada. Okay, with his 1,000 hands, right, to show the power, right? So he actually stopped the flow of the Narmada, and then with that, right, the other side it got flooded. Okay, and on the other side it was Ravana's camp, so which got flooded. And then seeing this Ravana, we also know, right? So Ravana also anchors power, right? So he used to feel that he is the ruler of the universe, right? So and then he came and then he insulted say Kartavirya Arjuna in presence of the other woman. So and then he got offended, Kartavirya Arjuna, and then he actually arrested Ravana like very easily, right? It has been said that in the Bhagavatam, he was captured as a monkey. It was so easy. So Kartavirya Arjuna was so powerful. Okay. So we know that Ravana is powerful, right? So and then he was like a monkey in front of Kartavirya Arjuna. Okay. And then he arrested, he did something, and then he left. So again, he released it. So he is Kartavirya Arjuna. Okay. As he was doing, he went into a jungle. Okay. So for hunting and all, right? So usually kings in the past used to go in the forest, right? And so while hunting, right, he actually he was tired and then he wanted to have some refreshment. So he found an hermitage. Okay. And then he went into the hermitage, and then the hermitage happens to be the hermitage of Ja- Jamadagni. Okay. And then, so Jamadagni was very powerful. Yeah? So he was doing a lot of austerities in the forest. And if the king goes, right, the entourage also goes with him, right? So the ministers, the soldiers, everyone went in. And then, by then, Lord Parashuram was not at home. So he went away so for something. Okay. And Jamadagni was all alone. So uh, when all these kings and all came, right, the royal entourage has come in. So Jamadagni fed every each one of them very nicely. Yeah, sumptuously he fed it, and the king was actually amazed. So in this particular forest, in such a remote place, how could he actually give a royal say lunch or dinner, whatever we can call. So how could he manage to give such an opulent way of honoring the guests? So when he actually checked with Jamadagni, he understood that Jamadagni had a Kamadhenu cow. Okay, so who was actually she was able to supply everything to Jamadagni. Okay, so Jamadagni was basically using Kamadhenu for getting clarified butter and all those things, right? So for this Agnihotri sacrifice and all, right? So for all those things he was using. So it was like a jewel, okay. And then so it used to give whatever Jamadagni wanted, okay. So in this way, it satisfied the needs on that hour, and so looking at this, right, Kartavirya Arjuna become envious. So rather he should have felt happy, right? Showing that the sage is all alone and then he could manage so much of food and then he fed us and then he relieved us from our stress, right? So rather this person he becomes angry and then so he becomes basically envious. And then he asks Jamadagni to give the Kamadhenu, but Jamadagni resists, says that I cannot give Kamadhenu. So what happens is the king actually even the Kamadhenu did not like to go with him, but forcefully somehow they managed to take the Kamadhenu, okay, with them. So after that, Lord Parashuram actually came back to home, okay, and then he inquired what happened, and Lord Jamadagni actually tells him, he narrates the story, so what happened. So Parashram becomes angry. Yeah, so he actually goes directly um, to the city, say where Kartavirya Arjuna is there, right? And then he starts fighting. Okay, so and looking at the intensity with which Lord Parashram was actually approaching to the city, right? The Kartavirya Arjuna actually deployed, I think 17 or 20. We'll just see the decks. 17 or 20 Akshoni Senas. Okay, and Lord Parashuram killed all of them. Yeah, so it includes actually thousands of horses. I think 1 lakh soldiers. One Akshahuni Sena actually consists of some 1,000 horses, some 20,000 horses, 20,000 elephants, 20,000 chariots, 1 lakh men, right? So he killed all of them. So he killed all of them all alone. Okay. In the Bhagavatam, it is mentioned that he killed at the speed of the mind. Okay. So and then when he was little bit tired, he used to kill in the speed of wind. Okay. So that was Lord Parashuram. Okay. He killed everyone. So all the senas were dusted down. And then looking at that, right, now Kartavirya Arjuna enters into the arena, right? And then he starts, because he has got 1,000 arms, right? He starts throwing ammunition, arrows, everything from his 1,000 hands towards Lord Parashuram. Lord Parashuram actually, actually counters them. Okay, he counters them, and then he actually shoots arrows and he cuts all his 1,000 hands, and at last he'll cut his head also. Okay, so by seeing this, right, Kartavirya Arjuna's sons all actually they'll get out of the city. They fled the city. Okay, so they were out of the city. So this is Kartavirya Arjuna who was puffed up, and Lord Parashuram chopped him. Yeah. Yeah. So this is Mataji. Can someone read this? These are small decks.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I'll read it.
Okay, good, Mataji.
The best of Kshatriyas, Kartaviryarjuna, the king of the Haihyas, received 1,000 arms by worshipping Dattatreya, the plenary expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. One more slide also. These are small.
Yes, sir. When Ravana attempted to insult Kartavirya in the presence of the women and thus offended him, Kartavirya easily arrested Ravana and put him in the custody in the city of Mahishmati, just as one captures a monkey, and then released him neglectfully. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. So this is Kartavirya Arjuna who has 1,000 hands, and this is the position of Ravana. Okay. So this is what we discussed. Uh, Mataji, any other Mataji would like to read this? Kailash or Rajalakshmi Mataji, good. Yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. The king was astonished at how opulent Jamadagni was because of possessing only one cow, and therefore he became envious of the great sage. This was the beginning of his offense.
So this is what the Kamadhenu which we spoke about, right? And then this was king and his entourage, and then this one single cow actually fed all of them, and then so seeing this, the king became envious. And then this is how the Kamadhenu was taken away. Yeah, go ahead, Mataji. Yeah, you can read this one also.
As King Kartavirya Arjuna entered his capital, Maheshmatipuri, he saw Lord Parashurama, the best of the Bhrigu dynasty, coming after him, holding a chopper, shield, bow, and arrows. Lord Parashurama was covered with a black deer skin, and his matted locks of his appeared like the sunshine. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. So here, so he's taking Dhanur Vana, right? And all these things has been mentioned. So what is being he's carrying, and then how did he enter the city? So this is what Kartavirya Arjuna sent 17, yeah, 17 full Akshoni Senas. Yeah. This is actually one Akshoni Sena is nothing but it has got 21,000 chariots, 21,000 elephants, 1,09,000 infantry soldiers, 65,000 horses into 17. So all were chopped off. And then finally he chops his hands and head. Okay. Uh, Kailash Mataji, do you want to read this? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Parshurama, the incarnation of Supreme Personality of Godhead, killed Kartavirya Arjuna because Kartavirya Arjuna was too proud. One may possess unusual opulence in this material world, but if one becomes puffed up and acts whimsically, he will be punished by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the lesson to learn from this history in which Parshurama became angry at Kartavirya Arjuna and killed him and rid the entire world of Kshatriyas 21 times. Srimad Bhagavatam 9.15.24.
Hare Krishna Mataji. So this is yet to come. So we'll understand why the Lord actually wiped out 21 times the Kshatriyas. Okay. So now this is Jamadagni's advice to Lord Parashuram. So what happens is now after killing Kartavirya Arjuna, right? Lord Parashuram brings back the Kamadhenu, right, into the hermitage, and then he narrates the story to his father and brothers. Okay. So now Jamadagni, right? So being his father and guru, right? He says that, see, I've done a sin, so you should not have killed the king because he is the representative of the god, right? So he was a ruler, so you have unnecessarily killed him, right? And then he's supposed to be the embodiment of all the demigods, right? And then he says that uh, this is Brahman. This is not a Brahmana's quality, right? So Brahmana's quality is forgiveness, and then so you should not have killed him. And then he says that the Brahmanas are actually worshipable, so due to their quality of forgiveness, right? So and then he says that as this is an sin which you have done, right? So he said that you go to actually get rid of this sin, right? So you'll have to visit all the holy places. So he says that it's better if you go and visit all the holy places. Okay. So that's the advice which Parashuram is getting from Jamadagni. Oh great hero, my dear son Parashuram, you have unnecessarily killed the king who is supposed to be the embodiment of all the demigods. Thus you have committed a sin. So the duty of a Brahmana is to culture the quality of forgiveness, right? Which is eliminating like the sun. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, is pleased with those who are forgiving. Okay. So my dear son, killing a king who is an emperor is more severely sinful than killing a Brahmana. But now if you have become Krishna consciousness and worship the holy places, you can atone from this great sin. So he says that you'll have to go and visit the holy places. Okay. So one who fully surrenders the Supreme Personality of Godhead is freed from all sins. Okay. Aham tvam sarva papsabhyo. So this is from Bhagavad Gita, right? 18th chapter. because an ordinary person cannot immediately surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is advised to go from one holy place to another and to find saintly person and thus gradually be released from all sinful reactions. Okay. So, and then in between, right, a small episode also happens. So when even there is a description wherein the wife of Jamadagni, right? So Renuka actually, she actually goes to fetch water from the Ganges. So and then there she sees a Gandharva who is actually doing some sporting with the Apsaras. Okay. So looking at that, right, she just had a thought. So some adulterated thought she just had, and then and by watching them, she became late. Actually, she has to supply water to the sacrifices, so which the Jamadagni was doing at his hermitage, and then she got delayed. And then, and then when she entered, she was just she knew that this is an this is something wrong, and then she went there, and she was actually standing with the folded hands with the pot of water, and then Jamadagni could understand this that there was some adultery in the mind of his wife. So she just thought for a while, and then she took some time to come back. So Jamadagni actually tells his sons. He becomes very angry, and then he says that kill her. So he advises to kill their mother. So he asks all three sons, none of them kill. And then when Parashuram comes in, right? So he asks that kill all of them, kill the mother and all three sons because they didn't obey me. Okay. So Parashuram killed all of them. Okay. All brothers and mother. And he knew that once his father is satisfied, right, he can bring them back. So others didn't knew that, but Parashuram knew very well. So hence he killed all of them. And then after killing them, his father was very satisfied. He said that you can ask me any of the benediction because you followed my instructions. So in that, so Parashuram says that you bring back my mother and brothers back to life, but one thing is that they should not remember this episode, and everything should be back to normal. So Jamadagni was very powerful, who could actually bring them back. Okay. So that was one story of the Lord also. So now what happens is back to this. Okay, so that was something I just wanted to tell. So that is also there in Bhagavatam. So here, right now, Kartavirya Arjuna's son seeks revenge, right? So let's see. So what happens now? Melinda Mataji, can you read this?
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Jamadagni was certainly very powerful due to his austerities, but because of a slight offense by his poor wife Renuka, he ordered that she be killed. This certainly was a sinful act, and therefore Jamadagni was killed by the sons of Kar- Kartavirya Arjuna, as described herein. Lord Parshuram was also infected by sin because of killing Kartavirya Arjuna, although this was not very offensive. Therefore, whether one be Kartavirya Arjuna, Lord Parshuram, Jamadagni, or whoever one may be, one must act very cautiously and sagaciously, otherwise, one must suffer the results of sinful activities. This is the lesson we receive from the Vedic literature. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. So here what happens is now, so the sons of Kartavirya, right? So they saw that his father was beheaded by Parashuram, right? And then they wanted to take revenge. So they saw the opportunity that now Lord Parashuram, okay, and after that, right, actually, Lord Parashuram came back of the holy places, and then he, along with his brothers, right, so they went to fetch something, okay, so to get arms or to get something, so they went out of the house, and then these Kartavirya Arjuna's sons, right? So they were all having dirty minds. So they were actually looking for an opportunity. They saw this, and then they entered the hermitage. And Jamadagni, the sage, was in meditation. So they killed him. Okay. Though Renuka, his wife, tried to beg the pardon with them, and then she said she resisted, but they killed and then they beheaded and then took the head of Jamadagni with them to Mahishmati. So then, seeing this, right, her son, her mother, sorry, Parashuram's mother, right, so Renuka actually started calling Rama, Rama, right, so in the forest, and then the all the sons could hear the screaming voice of their mother. Hearing that, right, so everyone came back to the hermitage and then saw that his, their father was killed. Okay. So looking at this scene, right, so Parashuram became very ferocious. So with the heinous act of this king's sons, right? So he actually went with his bows, arrows, and spear, right? So he went and attacked the cities, and then he beheaded all the sons of Kartavirya Arjuna, and then he created a pile of mountain of heads. Okay, and then he created a lake. So and then the blood, he, with that, right, he killed the 21 generations of Kshatriyas. Okay, so he uprooted all of them because they were not doing their job. So Kshatriya, so because this was not something a Kshatriya should do in, right? So they were not following. So they were not following the Varnashrama Dharma, right? And so they were not doing their uh, Varnashrama Dharma. Okay, so the quality actually was neglected, and then they were not doing any good. So they were doing all demonic activities. So looking at that, king killed, so Parashuram killed, and then it is being said that he created 9 lakes of blood. Okay, by killing these generations. So he killed 21 generations of the Kshatriyas, and then post that he got the head of his father, right? And then he came back, okay, and after that raised, he actually distributes the whole universe to the uh, Brahmanas, the sages, and everywhere, south, east, west, he gives everyone. Yeah. And then he actually brings, he actually joins the head with the body of his father, and then he prays to the Lord, and then he brings back his father back to life. Yeah. So he does that. Okay. So let's see what is there here. Yeah. Mataji, Rajalakshmi Mataji, you want to read this?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
O king, Lord Parshurama then went to Mahishmati, which was already doomed by the sinful killing of a Brahmana. In the midst of that city, he made a mountain of heads, severed from the bodies of the sons of Kartavirya Arjuna. Thank you.
You can read this Mataji also.
With the blood of the bodies of these sons, Lord Parashurama created a ghastly river which brought great fear to the kings who had no respect for Brahmanical culture. Because of the Kshatriyas, the men of power in government were performing sinful activities. Lord Parashurama, on the plea of establishing on the plea of retailing for the murder of his father and all the Kshatriyas from the face of the earth 21 times. Indeed, in the place known as Shamanta Panchaka, he created 9 lakes filled with their blood. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. So ideally, the Kshatriyas are meant to protect Go Brahmanas. It's cows and Brahmanas. And then in this case, right, they were killing. So first they mistreated the cow, second time so they killed a Brahmana. So they were very offensive. That's the reason so the Lord actually did this job of killing their 21 generations. Yeah. So according to the laws of nature, whether at the time of Parushrama or at the present, if the government becomes irresponsible and sinful, not caring for Brahmanical culture, there will be certainly an incarnation of God like Parashurama to create a devastation by fire, famine, pestilence, or some other calamity. Whenever the government disrespects the supremacy of the personality of Godhead and fails to protect the institution of Varnashrama Dharma. So this is very important. Yeah. So it will certainly have to face such catastrophes as formerly brought about by Lord Parashurama. So this is something from the purport. Yeah. So and then this we just discussed it. So we'll go through it. So Jamadagni was brought back to life. Although Lord Parashurama was an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he had to account for sinful activities. Okay. Anyone in this material world, however careful he may be, must commit some sinful activities, even though he does not want to do. Say like when so this example has been given, right? So when we are walking, so we may be actually killing so many ants, for which we don't know, right? So that is also a sin, right? So we are all surrounded by unlimited sins, and therefore it is compulsory that one take to Krishna consciousness and chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So how do we nullify these all things? Is by chanting the holy names and Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam. Yeah. Thus Jamadagni being worshipped by Lord Parashurama was brought back to life with full remembrance, and he became one of the 7 sages in the group of 7 stars. Okay. Jamadagni got the place of 7 stars. Okay. So Parashurama is still living. Okay. So even if the location is also been given. Okay. So this is Sukadev Goswami telling to Parikshit Maharaj. So my dear King Parikshit, in the next Manvantra, the lotus-eyed personality of Godhead. So in the next coming Manvantra, Parashurama, the son of Jamadagni, will be a great propounder of Vedic knowledge. In other words, he'll be one of the 7 sages. He'll be of Shapta Rishis. So here the Parashurama's details are being given. Lord Parashurama still lives as an intelligent Brahmana in the mountainous country known as Mahendra. Completely satisfied, having given up all the weapons of a Kshatriya, he is always worshipped, adored, and offered prayers for his exalted character and activities by such celestial beings as the Siddhas, Charanas, and Gandharvas. So the Lord is still there in this place called Mahendra Parvat. Okay. So with this, we'll wind up today's class. Matajis and Prabhujis, any doubts for related to today's class?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Praveen Prabhu, yeah, go ahead, Prabhu.
Mahendra Parvat is the same one which comes in Ramayana in where Hanumanji was and Lord Ram met each other?
I think so, Prabhu, because this episode also goes to that Yuga only. This is
Yes,
Treta Yuga only. So
yes.
this should be the same, Prabhu.
Wasn't the one of the reason for Lord Parshuram's incarnation was to facilitate the marriage of Lord Ram and Goddess Sita?
Yeah, even so that bit also is also there, but yeah, that's not discussed in the Bhagavatam. So I'm not touching those. I think in Ramayana we have all those things, right, Prabhu? Those
Yes,
details. Yeah.
yeah,
So yeah,
because the bow which was given over to Lord Ram
yeah,
after the destruction of that bow of Lord Shiva
yeah.
was the same bow which was prepared by Vishkarma
Yes.
and handed over by Lord Shiva to Lord Parshuram to be given for because through that bow only Ravan could be destroyed. That's what it's written.
Yeah, Prabhu. So these details are more in Ramayana, but in Bhagavatam, so this is what is being described. So I'm
Uh-huh.
sticking to Bhagavatam only, Prabhu.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anything else? Anyone has? Mataji's and Prabhuji's? Any other topics or any other reflections you want to give as Praveen Prabhu gave? Anything you want to add?
Prabhuji, just one question. There
Mataji.
is Mahendra Parvat in today's time.
I don't know Mataji, but we'll have to search for. Praveen Prabhu, do you know? Might be somewhere
Yes,
in the
Mahindra.
south, I think.
Yeah, Mahindra Parvat is actually Western Ghat because when
Western,
14
okay.
years Banvas was given, then from Ayodhya via Bethur in Kanpur, they went to Chitrakoot, where they had built their ashram, and from where Bharata took the Padukas. And from there, they traveled over the Vindhyachal Parvat, going over to Western Ghat, where they met the Hanuman, Lord Hanuman on the Mahindra Parvat over in Western Ghat. From there, then they traveled across over to Rameshwaram, where they had the Lord Shiva's shivling installed by the worshipper by calling over Ravan for installation for puja. So Mahindra Parvat is also on the Western Ghats.
Okay.
Okay.
But Google says somewhere in eastern, but that's okay. So it's
No,
there, it
not Eastern,
seems.
not Eastern. Yeah, it is still there. It's not Eastern because if because it is from there that they went over to Rameshwaram and Sri Lanka, and that is what the later part of that journey of about 5 years was from that place.
Yeah. But we can search for. So I think it should be Mahendragiri or something. So yeah,
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. But yeah, I just googled. It says somewhere Mahendra Mountain is somewhere in between Andhra and Odisha. Okay. Anyway, so you can check in. Yeah, Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. So we'll wind up for today's class. Thank you for your association. Vancha kalpatarobhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnebhyo namo namah. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.